What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we are checking out the Engl Artist Edition 50 watt amplifier. Let's do it. Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitar equipment, I record it with a simple SM57 setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E standard thrash riffs, dropsy hardcore riffs, and dudes that wore the same clothes in the last video, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, coming back at you with another amp demo from Engl Amplification for Engl Month here at Belligerent Amateur Studios. Today we are checking out the Artist Edition 50 watt 2-channel amplifier. I think it's 2 channels, right? There's a clean and there is a gain channel on this thing. Of course, we're not gonna touch the cleans because we're not stupid idiots. This is an amp I have been curious about for quite a while, if you're wondering why I'm laughing, because I just said a bunch of really stupid things before this. But yeah, I've been really curious about this one because a lot of people over the years have said that the Engl Artist Edition is the Engl that is closest to a traditional Marshall style sound. Playing through this amp, I don't really know that I 100% agree with that, but I will say that it definitely has something cool going on in the mid voicing of this amplifier. But much like every other Engl amp out there, this thing has a lot of compression and it has a lot of saturation. And overall, I think it's a really good sounding amp. I do have a couple complaints about it. It is simple, which I love because some Engl amps are way too overcomplicated for my simple caveman brain, but it is also lacking a couple of controls that I think would really benefit the amplifier. So we're gonna kind of jump into those things as we get into the demo of this amp. And real quick, I wanted to say, if you are not subscribed to the channel and you like Engl amplifiers, I'm doing an entire month loaded with Engl content with support from Engl and Sweetwater. So if you want to be here for that stuff, you don't want to miss out, make sure that you are subscribed and you got that bell notification tick so you don't miss any of that Engl goodness. So for that intro clip, I was using my Ballagher Typhon with the Seymour Duncan distortion in the bridge. We're going to use a couple different guitars and a couple different pickups for this demo. We were boosting the Engl Artist Edition with a Licklarm Audio King in Yellow. This has become my favorite new overdrive, but we'll check it out with a couple different overdrives. And of course, we are going through my Mesa 1999 traditional 4x12 cab with an SM57 on the stock Vintage 30. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put the EQ controls back at noon. I'm gonna turn the gain switch off, which is essentially going to put this on the crunch channel. I'm gonna turn the presence down to noon as well. We're gonna turn that gain on the lead channel all the way down to 9 o'clock. This amp does have a built-in noise gate on the back of it, as most Engl amplifiers do. And like most other Engl amplifiers, the noise gate works really, really well. So I have no boost out in front. The controls are set as you see them here. And here's what we got. We essentially have a slightly overdriven crunch sound. We need a little bit more volume to make up for that lack of gain. So for the crunch tones, I'm gonna grab a guitar with a PAF style low output pickup. All right, I have my Heritage H150 Artisan Age with the Seymour Duncan Antiquity pickup in the bridge. As you can tell, pretty noticeable difference between those two guitars and two pickups. I want to boost the gain up a little bit. I want to get a little bit more presence to get this thing to come alive. Honestly, if you're looking for a more vintage style Marshall tone, that's not too bad. Let's boost up the middle. So that was with the volume rolled down. Here it is with the volume rolled up. I gotta say, not only does the amp really respond to the volume on your guitar, rolling it down really cleans it up quite a bit, but this thing has a really nice kind of crunchy classic rock type tone to it. Let's go ahead, let's push that gain up a little bit more. Let's see what type of tones we can get out of this crunch channel. Seriously, very impressed by the crunch channel on this amp. If I was going for that type of classic rock tone, which 99% of the time I will not be, but if I were, this thing actually accomplishes it really well. Not something that I typically expect from an Engl. Now we're gonna get belligerent. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna turn that gain all the way up. So decent amount of low end response, decent amount of gain. Let's turn that treble up a little bit. Let's hit this thing with something like an SD1 and see how it reacts to a standard style overdrive. I would say that's about the same amount of gain as, say, like a JCM 800 with a boost out front. Not a lot. But if we go ahead and we switch back to the guitar with the Duncan SH6 in it, I think you're gonna be surprised at how well this amp reacts to a hotter pickup. So already we have a pretty noticeable difference in the amount of output. It's getting closer to being more saturated. So what happens if we kick in something like, say, the Friedman Buxom Boost, where we can really push the front end of the amplifier because this thing has so much output? Well, I have not experienced that before because this is the first time I'm trying it. The front end of the amp gets overloaded very, very easily. It's actually getting pushed too hard by the Buxom Boost. So let's try the Lick Larum King in yellow. All right, so I'm actually really surprised at how much gain we're able to get out of this channel with an overdrive like the Lick Larum that has a lot of output. This actually sounds really good. But one thing I have not talked about yet is the shape button. There is a shape button that basically adds a lot of mids and low mids to the EQ, to the voicing of this amplifier. So let's click that on. So as you can tell, that really rounds the mids out. It actually adds a lot of low mid percussiveness. We can back the mid control off, but it does need a little bit more treble because the top end has been rounded off. So if you want a rounder, more forward mid profile, that shape control is definitely gonna do the trick. All right, so that is the crunch side of things. Let's go ahead, let's go over to the high gain setting. We're gonna turn the Lick Larum off, and we are going to hear how this thing sounds without a boost out in front. All the settings are as you see them. The gain is still completely dimed. So the amp is still very tight, but we have a lot of treble frequencies missing to get that top end aggression back up. Let's pump that treble up. And finally, let's bump those mids and the presence just a tad. So dialed in like that with the shape control in, it is still pretty punchy, but the low mids are just kind of over the top. It makes it sound kind of cloudy and nasally. Let's kick that shape button back in. All right, so the low mids have been pulled out quite a bit. It is a little bit scoop sounding though, so let's bump the mid control up. All right, so like a lot of Engl amplifiers, you can dial this thing in to sound very tight and percussive without any sort of overdrive in front. This brings me to my next point though. We've got the bass cranked all the way up and there's still not that much low end, even without an overdrive in front, and there is no way to control the depth on the power amp of this amplifier, so it's a little bit on the anemic side. And adding an overdrive to that is only going to make it worse, so if we were to back the gain down and we were to kick in something like a Boss SD1, a very traditional overdrive, I like what it does to the voicing of the amp, but it cuts so much low end. So let's try the Deadwell Duality on the green channel because this pedal does a pretty good job at leaving the low end intact. I love the sound, I love the voicing, very aggressive, very just kind of clanky sounding in a good way, but again, just not quite enough low end for my personal taste. Let's see what it does when we drop it down to drop C and play a hardcore riff though, because it may actually lend itself to that sound much better. Alright, so honestly, I really like it for the drop C thing. Very aggressive, a little bit on the scooped side, I would say. Let's kick in that shape control. So honestly, it sounds good for that. I like this amp better for the lower tunings just because it just seems to suit the low end better. If I was able to control the depth or the resonance of the amp on the power amp in any way to get more low end punch out of it, I would really like it for the E standard thing. Like, I like the voicing of the amp a lot. It just lacks low end for me personally. Let's grab a guitar with active pickup, see how it reacts to that, then we'll grab the 7-string and we'll call it a day. All right guys, so I've got my LTD Phoenix Black Metal here with the Fluff Fishman Fluence signature pickup. That's a lot of Fs. I have this set on the passive voicing. I have the amp dialed in. As you see, we still have the Deadwell Duality out in front of this amp because it seems to be working really well. And I've got a tone that I think actually sounds pretty good. All right, so dialed in like that, I actually think it sounds pretty good. I'm not mad at how it sounds. I do want to try the blue channel on the deadwall duality, which is much like a TC integrated preamp circuit. Let's see how it reacts to that. I actually like the way that that sounds. We are able to control the low end frequencies with this channel on the pedal. So if you have a TC integrated preamp style pedal you like boosting with, you can keep the low end intact on this amp, and it's gonna benefit from something like that for sure. I will say one thing about this amp, with the gain turned up higher, it tends to fill out the frequencies on the amp more. So if you think it sounds a little bit thin like I do, boosting it with a really hot pickup and an overdrive kind of takes away all those low end frequencies, especially because you have to dial that gain down or else it'll be oversaturated. So that's something to think about for sure. And let's see what type of tone we can get out of this thing unboosted. Again, man, I think this amp sounds excellent without a boost in front, especially because of that lack of low end. That sounded really good with the Fishman Fluff Fluence pickup. Last but not least, 7-string. All right, guys, I have my Schecter Hellraiser PT hybrid with the EMG 57 in the bridge. We have no overdrive on out in front, and I have it dialed as you see here because I don't think that it needs an overdrive. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me today on the Engl Artist Edition 50-watt amplifier. What do you think about this thing? What do you think about the tones I was able to get out of it? Of course, I wanna hear from you guys, so let me know down below in the comments of this video. Unfortunately, this amp is no longer available because they don't make them anymore. But if you guys would like to purchase any other awesome Engl gear or any other gear at all, make sure to hit those affiliate links down below in the description. Sweetwater carries all sorts of awesome Engl goodies, and anytime you guys click on that link, it greatly helps the channel and helps me move forward, and I really appreciate it. Or consider adding your name to this list of incredible people by joining my Patreon community and supporting the channel that way. God, if I could get through this sentence, that would be great. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any more awesome Engl month content. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.